Hi everybody, Mr. Chris here. A while ago, I watched a TV show in which one of the characters lived an abnormally long life, like hundreds of years. And he had been alive since the Middle Ages. In one of the episodes, this character showed up in the year 2020 in modern England. Now, the character found his way into a rather dumpy house, a house inhabited by what some may call rednecks or white trash. And the character couldn't believe what he was seeing. He sat down and watched the Discovery Channel on the flat box, and he marveled at the running water, and he was in awe over the drapes and the couch and the cushions. And he told the lady who lived in the dump, "I have seen castles and palaces, but I have never seen anything like this. There are no kings or queens who wouldn't give up everything to live here." So to my modern eyes, it was a rather hilarious scene, but it highlighted an important truth. Today, the average Westerner lives in opulence and splendor when compared to the average Westerner even 100 years ago. And when you consider that you and I probably live more comfortably today than most kings and queens throughout history, well, that is a real eye-opener. Toward the beginning of this course, we talked in class about our standards of living. We discussed the things that we felt we had to have to not be suffering. And I remember that Tyler mentioned having a good pair of basketball shoes was important for him to feel like he was living a pretty good life. Mick mentioned having a somewhat spacious and nicely remodeled house. And something that's really interesting about that discussion was that nobody even thought to mention food. But if we could have asked the standard of living question to most people over the last several thousand years, they probably would have mentioned just having enough to eat as being a major marker of having a good standard of living. So we're so well off, it doesn't even enter our minds to mention food when thinking about our standard of living. So how did we get so rich? How did our standard of living get to be so high? Well, one answer to that question is that we today get to enjoy hundreds of years of free market economics. Adam Smith's invisible hand has been at work for a long time, creating wealth and systems that we get to enjoy today. However, the free market does have some problems. Several examples of those problems we are going to discuss in greater detail in other lessons, and they are the chaos of business cycles, the ever-present devaluing of money, and the inherent greed that fuels us to be more competitive and to make more money. So that is what we are going to discuss here in Chapter 11. We are going to look at what successes the free market has provided for us, and we're going to look at what the difficulties are that the free market throws our way. Many citizens in the United States favor a less free economic and political system, something closer to socialism. Bernie Sanders, the U.S.'s preeminent socialist, has been a serious presidential candidate in the last two elections, 2016 and now 2020. He just dropped out of the 2020 race a couple of weeks ago and endorsed Joe Biden. However, support for him and his ideas keeps growing, especially among younger Americans. The coronavirus and its effects on the economy have pushed America toward a more socialistic state, more than any event since the Great Depression. One of the tenets of the socialist agenda in America is to institute something called UBI, Universal Basic Income. Under a system like that, every citizen would be guaranteed a certain amount of money each month. Crazy talk, right? Yet, we all gladly received a $1,200 stimulus check a week or so ago. And if this continues, we may get another one. Now that's a huge step toward Americans accepting UBI. Another huge tenet of the socialist agenda is to provide medical care for all citizens. This plank in the socialist agenda is often called Medicare for all, or a single payer system, meaning the single payer is the government. Under this system, all medical services would be paid for by the government through our tax dollars. You break your leg, free medical care. You have a baby, free medical care. You need brain surgery, free medical care. Now, many Americans pay for their medical care through health insurance they get as a perk of working at a company. A lot of people have lost their jobs over the last month. That means a lot of people have also lost their health insurance. Socialists point to this dilemma to prove that it's foolish for the American healthcare system to be tied to the jobs that Americans work. They claim it's time to make healthcare free for everyone, no matter how much money you have or you don't have. So these two ideas, universal basic income, UBI, and Medicare for all, these are ideas that we are swiftly moving toward because of the crisis in which we find ourselves right now. The decisions that the U.S. makes over the next few months will set the nation on a trajectory for a generation, if not generations to come. Will the U.S. move toward greater economic freedom by retaining a free market, or will the U.S. move toward a more socialistic system by allowing the government to take over larger portions of our economy? Well, that question remains to be seen. Americans are certainly freedom-loving people, but they're also a highly divided people. I caution our generation from too quickly casting off a free market system that has increased the standard of living for most people alive today. You and I get to live like kings and queens because the free market tends to reward hard work and ingenuity. But what if those rewards are largely taken away? Your assignment for today is to read and do 11.2. Mr. Chris, out.